Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the beautiful circuit of Zandvoort for round 7 of the RaceFace.Pro Evolved ACC GT3 Championship Season 25. Around a 4.2 kilometer circuit, 14 corners, and 77 years old this year. Opened in 1948. It is the beautiful circuit of Zandvoort. A tricky, but is all about maintaining pace. This track is gonna settle championship fights right the way through, and we're expecting to see some close racing with some interesting passing. Now, why I say interesting, the track temperature is currently 22 degrees and the drivers are going to be hoping to stay at the top of the field, looking to really go through. Now, on 299 points, it's Christoph Peterson. Second is Bago Krobler with 232 points. Mike LaRue sits in third place with 194. Henry Platt on 188. Jason Farmer 171. Sean Lorero on 165. Pim Whitner on 159. Johannes Kraling sits with 128. Jeffrey LaRue, 4 points off the back of him on 124. Rounding out our top 10 for our pros is Jared Bakum on 119 points. These are factors for our pros to consider, but we've also got our pro-ams in the fight as well. Keegan Bowen, who's taken every single win this season, holds on to first place and will be walking away as champion. But the fight for second is still on. Reginald Mutareni on 202 points, Gerard Torres on 196, Conrad Martin on 189, followed by Anton Lammers on 183, Ulrich Diaga on 182, Benjamin Till on 174, Graham Kelly on 144, Michael Berg sits on 132. Rounding out our field is Jonathan Crissett on 129 points. So very, very close in terms of the championship. Ultimately, who is going to be the ones standing at the top come the end of the season? We have already got our Pro-Am winner due to the victories he's had, but now we're going to have to see who can come up behind him and who are the drivers going to stand at the top. Now, down to the track as our drivers are getting themselves sorted out. It is Sean Lorero, who is out on circuit at the moment. Bago Frobler will be chasing down his teammate Jared Bakum out in the Porsche. Daniel De Villiers along with Donnie Steenkamp a little bit further down. Vessel Loader. We've got 29 cars racing with us this evening, all looking to find it out. Massive welcome to every single person out in the virtual grandstands. Wonderful to have you all guys here, and looking forward for a phenomenal round 7 of the championship, where it is all or nothing for our drivers to stand at the top. Who will be the one to conquer qualifying and secure their spot? Will be the defending champion of Christoph Peterson to once again get a victory here at Zandvoort, a circuit that he actually does like, but has also got a bit of stiff competition in the pros, running a little bit longer. As I said, the track is a bit warmer, so tyres are going to be starting to feel it, and everyone having to think their way through, and they've got to be critical on where they can get these overtakes, because in Sector 2 around the circuit, it is so close between one another. Taking a look at some of the support out in the virtual grandstands, I've got to say, wonderful to have Ren Heineke going and putting a shout out for the Griffin Sim Racing, Gary Bakum, Antonio Gamble saying how's it, and Rob van der Heever going and shouting, let's go Griffin Sim Racing. Wonderful to have Rob back in and having a chat to us after a bit of a long time. Mike LaRue, keep an eye on this Aston Martin. Now, when we spoke to Mike, he managed to charge his way up through the field last time around, but he's going to have to do it again. For the pros, it's all about the pit stops that can work out in favour. Mike LaRue sitting in third is 194 points, with Bago Krobler on 232 points. Bago in round 6 came 11th position. Mike LaRue got second. Christoph Peterson walked away with a victory. He's on 299, so staying into the top 3, Christoph has got the championship secured, but Mike LaRue can still capture that silver if he gets a victory here tonight. But he's got Henry Platt to keep him company as well, and that's going to be the main thing. Mike LaRue sits on 135 at the moment. Sean Lorero in second place. Jason Farmer, Herman Whitner, Jared Bakum a little bit further down with Ruan Heineke with a 136.0. Keegan Bowen a little bit further down, but first in his class. Well, saying that, he instantly gets beaten up by Jonathan Chrysler. So it's a 136.1 over Keegan Bowen's 136.2. The circuit itself becoming a little bit more interesting out there. And let's take a look at our drivers as we jump in the cockpit and take a look at this monstrous track that the drivers will have to navigate and try and figure out where they can get the pace. It's an up and down roller coaster of note. Everyone having to try and figure out where can they keep their throttle down, get the cars comfortable through the sweeping corners. Lots of understeer coming out. Jonathan Chrysler's Aston Martin. There's also not a lot of room to play with when you get it wrong into the dirt. You'll slide off and crash into the wall. It's taken quite a few championships. Benjamin Till up at the top. Now this is a surprising one for Benjamin Till, who's been at the lower part of the field for majority of the season, up into first place, putting in one of his better qualifyings with a 135.7, beating out Donnie Steenkamp, and also fighting against Keegan Bowen, who's just hasn't quite had the pace. Oh, Donnie goes and loses it. In the background, we saw Mustang getting a bit out of shape, and unfortunately, going and landing up smack bang into the wall. There is the Mustang, unfortunately, now needing to go back to pits to get itself sorted out. Top of the charts, though, Bego Krobler, 0.2 of a second ahead of Mike LaRue. Henry Platt in third place. Drivers still putting the hammer down. Now I'm trying to take a look. I do not see Christoph Peterson here, which does give an interesting tell, because at the moment that means he will lose out his points. He'll get a 0 for not going and fighting here, which means round 8. If Bego Krobler can hook a victory, Bego can go for the gold over Christoph Peterson, who's our defending champion. Because if he can get the fastest lap, that's 2 points. And if he can get the victory, well, there's an extra couple of points in the bag. So Bego Krobler's got everything to play for right now. And I do know Christoph will be sitting, wondering and scratching his head. First place is worth 50 points. And that can flip things on its head, because Bego, 232, trying to catch up to that 299, has a proper chance to stand at the top. A very, very interesting call to miss out a crucial round for the championship. And just by coming in first, he's got 282 points, plus it gets the fastest lap. That will bring it up to 284, which means the final round, if Christoph's not there, Bego Krobler can get the victory. But that also does bring Michael LaRue a little bit closer into it as well. So I wouldn't count them out. Is everyone looking towards the championship? Ulrich Diaga on a stellar run, top of the charts with Benjamin Till and Graham Kelly holding on to third. Gerard Pretorius a little bit further down. Jonathan Chrysler further down. We do see Keegan Bowen, oddly enough, at the back end of the field, and that is definitely going to hurt him quite a bit out there, as he needs to be right at the top to go and keep that domination in the points that he's had, that consecutive starting in first of the Pro-Am field. This time round, though, it's going to be a driver that's been a little bit further back with Ulrich Diaga. Reginald Mitteleni managed to get a bit closer and is holding on to 13th at the moment, with Benjamin Till trying to close behind. Daniel De Villiers putting a spanner in the works, along with Sean Loureiro. This forces Mike LaRue further back through the field, and Henry Platt. Mike LaRue in third place, Henry Platt that's in fourth. These are their opportunities getting taken away by two drivers that aren't fighting in the top four and can keep going and moving forward. Mike LaRue up into second place, 0.1 of a second behind Bego Krobler with a 34.587. Bego Krobler sitting on the 34.442. Daniel De Villiers on 34.9 and trying to improve his time. Janus Grayling 0.1 up on his time. Jason Farmer trying to play a little bit of catch up as well, as we've got Herman Whitner out on circuit. Once again, we've managed to get a camera in the car, and there is the man, Herman Whitner, behind, and one day we're going to catch him smiling. One day we're going to catch that smile from Herman Whitmer of Extreme Sim Racing. But it's wonderful to have those driver cams available, and we can keep showing it off. I'm going to try and get many more of them in the future, get a camera inside those cars, and show off those pearly whites from our amazing drivers behind the visors, behind the screens, and those amazing personalities out on the circuit. So, Jared Pretorius also in for a stellar run in the Pro-Ams. Needs to be right up into the top 3 if he wants to maintain points in the championship. After his last lap, a 135.960, slower than his best lap time of 135.905. He still eyes out his opportunity. Keegan Bowen down into 25th position, trying to pull himself from the brink. A second faster, and there we go. Keegan Bowen, a 135.1, really able to drag out a second over his last lap time, and puts himself back into first place, back into that top 10 to try and keep that consistency. The question is, can he keep it? Because the Pro-Ams are starting to show. They're not hanging around. They don't care if you've been at the top. They will fight you tooth and nail. Bego Corbler and Mike LaRue hold on to the front row with Daniel de Villiers in that Nissan GTR coming across the line. No improvement from his side. A 135.22 on that last lap. Not better than his 134.9. But is staying consistent, holding on to the top 3. Sean Larrea with a 135 dead. Henry Platt with a 135.042. Graham van der Race also hanging in the mix for the Cramadulis Racing team. Van der Race in a Mercedes this time. If I remember, Van der Race hasn't been in the seat for a fair chunk of time. And it's good to see him back out on the circuit. And he's only raced twice. Got 19th in round 2, round 3 got 5th position. So he's been out of the seat long enough in the season, down in 19th position, but a top 5 running from him will make life a little bit more interesting and can sure as heck put a spanner in the works for Bego, Mike LaRue, Henry Platt, and many more drivers. If he can get himself into the top 3, taking away crucial points that's needed. Benjamin Till looking to have one of his best runs yet, up into second place in qualifying for the Pro-Am field. He's followed by 2 pros, Ruan Heineke and Jared Beckham. They are trying to slug it out for 13th and 14th position at this stage of the game. Ulrich Diaga holds 3rd of the Pro-Ams. He's got Reginald Mutileni to deal with. Jared Pretorius currently 0.3 up on his time. You can see sweeping through the corners, doing everything he can to just get that Mustang around. But the understeer starting to creep into the car, making life a little bit harder to deal with. And every time he tries to twist that nose in, it's just not coming around. And there we go, over the sausage curbs, around he goes. 2 minute 55, not enough time to go and put in an absolute banger, and he's got such a busy track out in front of him. He's trying to rejoin, but is just losing crucial time in this qualifying for round 7 of the EG Evolved Simulator Rigs ACC GT3 Championship, round 7 of season 25, which is absolutely incredible to think. And with EG Evolved, our sponsor and partner here at RaceFace.Pro, getting behind local motors, local sim racing, is now looking to crown their next champion. Daniel de Villiers 0.3 up in that Nissan GTR for the PWSR team, doing everything he can to try and pull it back from the brink. He's utilizing the tow of the Cramadulis Racing Mercedes ahead of him, but now needs to keep his foot firmly planted through the final corner. Long right-hander to deal with. Has he got the power to make his way to the top, over into the dirt? That's going to cost him time, and cross the line with a 134.727, his best lap time of qualifying. However, not close enough to Mike LaRue, 134.5. Definitely tried his luck out there, but just not getting it underfoot. Jason Farmer out in the Lexus V8 for the Griffin Sim Racing team, trying to move his way forward as we do see LaRue moving up, round from the race up into 6th. We're all going and keeping an eye on the drivers out on circuit. So far on the top of the times, Janus Kraling, who is out there for the Raven West GT team, not holding back, and will be fighting his way through. I mean, this is always a really rough call, and it's wonderful to have everyone out in the virtual grandstands. Massive welcome to everyone. Stunning to have you, and looking forward to some many more races come. This is round 7. Next week, round 8, our final round of the season. Championships can be secured here tonight for our Pro and Pro-Am. However, do want to point out the big talking point that has come in. There is no Christoph Peterson here tonight to go and claim a victory or scoring points. He will have to defend in the final round of the championship against Bego Krobler and Mike LaRue at the end. Henry Platt's also going to be doing everything he can. If Bego Krobler can hook a victory here, he will be literally 11 points off the back of Christoph Peterson heading into round 8. So this is a crucial moment for Bego Krobler to come into first. So for Mike LaRue to have his chance heading into the final round. As drivers giving it the absolute all right down to the wire. Jack Darts is giving it everything he can in 21st position. 0.4 up on his time. Jonathan Chrysler, 0.6 up on his time. Giving it every little bit of push they can. The only 2 cars that at this moment up well over 0.1 on their time. Jonathan Chrysler is going to be the first one to come around between the two. We keep an eye on as he's 0.4 up, heads to the line. Can he get out into the top 15? And does go up into 15th. A 135.5 on that run. Jack Darts is immediately going to fire back. Jean-Ray Burta trying to move forward. Herman Whitner in 14th, 0.1 up on his time as well. So Jack Darts pushing that a little bit harder. Can he close up the distance through the final corner? Does see the Griffin Sim Racing team Mustang ahead of him, and does jump up into 14th as he gets beaten out by Jared Coop. He holds on to that 13th position, utilize the toe right at the end. Absolutely interesting to see how this race is going to go, because it looks like the overall pace for the drivers sits in the 135 mark. So, as we get ready to go under green flag conditions, we'd like to welcome everyone to round 7 of the EG Evolved ACC GT3 Championship, powered by RaceFace.Pro, here at the beautiful circuit of Zandvoort. A track that is loved by some, despised by a couple, and has been an ultimate change in championships past. Going back towards season 15, it has taken drivers right to the top of the championship leaderboard, which we might see here tonight, but it can also be the ultimate downfall of drivers as well. 4.2 kilometers, it's not the longest track in our calendar. 14 corners means that it hasn't got the most corners in our calendar. Being 77 years old, it's old school in its driving, but it's the change of camber and the undulations that make Zandvoort just that little bit trickier to deal with, just that little bit harder on the tires, and just that bit more fun of a roller coaster ride. Some drivers comparing some of the corners around the circuit much to the Green Hell, the Nordschleife circuit. Others comparing it to going and jumping on the Anaconda and seeing if they can hold on for dear life. It's a circuit that is going to pressure drivers into very manic situations with very few passing zones to get round the drive. You're going to have to be brave on the brakes. You have to be brave on the throttle to stay at the sharp end of the field. The question is, who is going to be a monumental run? And we are getting reports as well that this is our Bertus Hugo, the owner of RaceFace.Pro's, one of his favorite circuits, much like Algarve. Algarve, he's managed to take a victory, but here at Zandvoort, he has not taken a win on this track, and that comes from Tennis Berta. of the Pandassi team. Tina's Porter driving in our iRacing League. Good to have him out here. Daniel De Villiers saying good luck to everyone and shouting out from his car. Good to see that De Villiers going and keeping an eye on things for the PWSR team, getting supported by Alan Patterson and the rest of the PWSR team. It's wonderful to have everyone getting ready to go. So, booster seats at the ready and drivers at the ready. We get ready to start off. Bego Hrobler, Mike LaRue, Daniel De Villiers, each thinking of critical runs. So, Bego Hrobler, Mike LaRue will sit on the first row. Daniel De Villiers in third place with that Nissan GT-R. Johannes Kraling in fourth. Jason Farmer, followed by Sean Loureiro. Go and put the two Griffin sim racing machines right up against one another. Sean Loureiro wearing a bit of green on his Nissan GT-R, giving it a new style. Wonderful to see it out there. Henry Platt and Ryan van der Reist on his return back to the field will hold on 7 and 8. Ulrich de Jager and Herman Whitner will get themselves ready. Rounding out our top 10, you can see beautiful face over there. Still not a smile as yet, but it will come. Jeffrey LaRue along with Keegan Bowen follow out, and Keegan, who is now second for the first time in qualifying behind Ulrich de Jager. So there's a lot of pressure to try and play a little bit of catch up here for the Pro-Am field. Jared Beckham and Jack Darts will line up side by side with Benjamin Till, Jonathan Chrislin, Ruan Heineke, Chris Beermister, Graham Kelly, Vessel Woda a little bit further behind, Conrad Martin, Reginald Mutaleni, Gerard Pretorius, along with Kerry Duplessis, Donnie Steelkamp, Michael Berg, Jean-Ray Buerta, Christian Zetzman, and rounding out the field is William Wentworth. I mean, this is a huge run for our drivers. Round 7 that can make or break championships. For the pros, everything's on the line to take it into the final round. For Keegan Bowen, a victory here tonight cements him as the Pro-Am champion. Ulrich de Jager will be fighting tooth and nail to take that away from him. Jack Darts and Benjamin Till as well, with Reginald Mutaledi trying to claw his way back in towards the championship for the Pro-Am field. Gerard Pretorius out of the pink Mustang for the Griffin Sim Racing team will be looking to score big as he sits third place, with Conrad Martin and Anton Lammers chasing him down as they round out the finals of a corner. It's going to be slowing the pace down to 70 kilometers an hour. It's an hour and 20 minutes worth of racing. It is mandatory to get 2 pit stops done. That means you have to put at least 1 liter in the car and go. You have to square it up in the box. Otherwise, if they have to move you, that pit stop doesn't count. A track that can punish you in track limits and towards the walls that are very, very close and can go and take away precious points into the second last round of this championship. For season 25, we get ready. Lights on, lights on, lights on. As it goes to Jim, waiting for green. He's there on the flag marshal stand. He's got his finger on the button, ready on the green flag. Bego Hrobler, Mike LaRue looking to get the jump off the line. And green. We take off, heading into turn 1. And it's side by side. Farmer trying to find his way through. And it's going to be gentle moves all around. Daniel De Villiers puts his nose forward, trying to see if he can take the fight to Mike LaRue. Johannes Kraling falls to the outside as it's a neat run from our field. Johannes Kraling getting a little bit sketchy, but it's Mike LaRue off circuit. He rejoins in through the field. Everyone having to take a bit of a massive maneuvers trying to get out of the way. Sean Loureiro trying his utmost best to get past the likes of Mike LaRue. He's got Henry Platt on the back of him, chasing him down. Ryan van der Reist now looking to put his nose forward, seeing where he can try and take a little bit of a dive and get round as it's nose to tail through the field. Follow the snake. Follow your way through. Tires are cold at the moment. Brakes are chilly. As Jeffrey LaRue having a go at his own teammate, Ulrich de Jager, to try and get past him. And that has got Jared hunting him down. Keegan Bowen just off the back of him, trying to see where he can make up a little bit of time. Benjamin Till, a little bit of room to Jack Dodson and Herman Whitner. who keep each other busy with the Raven West team and the Extreme Sim Racing team. Ruan Heineke and Jonathan Chrysler a little bit further back as they make their way into the chicane. No argy-bargy moments there. Everyone considering their options. Jonas Kralik up into third after Mike LaRue's critical mistake, going and landing up over the curbs and now swallowed up by the field as Bego Grobler starts to leg it away from the drivers, and we do see a number of cars diving into pit lane to get their first stop out of the way and go long. Jason Farmer a little too deep into the corner, now has Mike LaRue round the outside, back to the inside. Mike LaRue ahead of Jason Farmer, Sean Loureiro trying to close the distance, and now Mike going out very, very wide to just get some run out of the corner and utilize the drive on that Aston Martin. Now having the likes of Jason Farmer squared up behind him, looking left and right, no way to get round just as yet. Sean Loureiro immediately putting pressure onto Jason Farmer, communicating, right, let's keep it together here. The two of us fought at Paul Ricard and landed up with Sean Loureiro getting a drive-through penalty for track limits exceeded. He's got Henry Platt in play as well, trying to see where he can make that little bit of time by. Ulrich de Jager feeling the pressure from Jeffrey LaRue, who's hunting him down left, right and center, seeing where exactly can he get that pass done. But you can see the trade starting to extend now as the tires are warming up, the brakes are warming up, the drivers having to attack the circuit at full steam, now starting to get an understanding of where they are on track. But it's interesting to see a good couple of drivers opting to get their first pit stops done. Ruan Heineke, Reginald Muttolini, Jack Dodds, William Winter, Joe Pretorius and Conrad Martin getting those stops done and dusted, and now concentrating to go a little bit longer into the race. Will that early stop help them in for this, or is it going to be a very costly time? Joe McComb trying to move left and right to get a little bit more heat into the tires and break the toe. Henry Platt diving into the pits, one of our top 5 runners now into the pits and trying to see where exactly he can come out to the field, hoping that he can get ahead of Ruan Heineke, who leads out those that have done their first pit stops. That's allowed a little bit of free room for Mike LaRue to go onto the attack of Johannes Krailing ahead of him. Krailing, he'll be keeping an eye on the VXR racing driver to see what he can do, with Daniel De Villiers holding on to second place, but Bego Grobler checking out early, now trying to extend that gap roughly 2 to 3 seconds at the moment, is going to be putting extreme pressure on the tires and will be looking at swapping out those tires during the course of the race. Mike LaRue getting a little bit wide, and it looks like the rear not as compliant as he would like. Jonas Krailing utilizing the drive is able to carry the momentum through far better, and you can see attacking the curbs a lot harder than Mike LaRue at the moment, trying to ensure that the car is not unsettled, but at the same time use every little bit of advantage that the circuit can provide. Unfortunately, very close to track limits that can ultimately bin your race, as we do see Mike LaRue opting to get into pit lane to get his first stop done, deciding he's not going to lose a bit of time here. Keegan Bowen's going to do the same as well. So some interesting trigger pulls on the pit stops to see where they come out. Henry Platt leads up those that have done their pit stop, and you can see how much room he has got compared to the rest of the field. He's going to hope to get ahead of Keegan and Mike LaRue after taking an earlier pit stop, seeing if that advantage is going to help him out in this race, but is going to have to deal with the drivers coming out of pit lane. There's Ruan Heineke and Reginald Muttolini that are fighting it out. Remember, Reginald looking to get into first place for the championship. Henry Platt filters right behind the likes of Mike LaRue, who now has to get a little bit of giddy up and go. Vesseloda dealing with Harry Duplessis, the two Commodores racing machine. Harry out in the Ferrari trying to go right underneath Vesseloda at the moment. Harry's part of the pro field. He will want to close up to round front of race further up through the field and wants to get on by, but for Vessel, he's got his teammate providing a little bit of protection from Michael Berg and Donnie Steenkamp a little bit further behind, who are in the Pro-Am division. So this is where, are you going to play the team game? Are Are you going to focus on what you need to do a little bit more of defending, or are you going to go on to attack? Jack Darts and Jean-Ray Buerta, Team Krigma Racing versus the likes of Raven West. And Jack Darts trying to get underneath Jean-Ray Buerta. Just managing to get a little bit squirrely under braking. Couldn't quite get the drive. Jean-Ray Buerta able to walk it around from the outside. More than comfortable there. Jonas Krailing managing to keep away from Jason Farmer. Sean Lerero broken off the back of it after seeing a bit of an earlier pit stop. Now Krailing has to deal with the likes of Farmer, who can be quite aggressive on his overtakes. Daniel De Villiers from second place into pit lane. Donnie Steenkamp into pit lane as well. So some early calls on pit stops, seeing where exactly they can go and run towards the sharp end of the field. The question comes in, is it going to be beneficial? Are they going to be able to make it work for them? Daniel De Villiers will have to be coming out in front of Mike LaRue to continue to hold on to the sharp end of the field when the next round of pit stops come in, and he does. He's currently in 18th position with Donnie Steenkamp separating him and Mike LaRue at the moment, as we keep an eye for the battle of second place with the likes of Sean Lerero holding on to fourth at the moment and just considering his option. Vego Hrobler continues on the charge. Ulrich Diaga, Benjamin Tull and Jonathan Crisset hold on to the top three for the Pro-Am field, as Jonas Krailing a little bit of a wheel off circuit. Not going to be too happy on that one. Trying to find his feet at the moment and really trying to get out of that Lexus's life as quick as possible. None of the drivers going and holding back. Sean Lerero, as you can see, into the dirt. So was Rian van der Reist as well on the exit through the final corner. Trying to push that a little bit harder. Trying to see if they can gain that little bit of time. But ultimately, it's going to be a long call. Benjamin Till pulling the pin on the hand grenade as well. Graham Kelly both diving into pit lane. They're trying to get ahead of Keegan Bowen and Reginald Matileni, who are currently the only two of our top running order for the Pro-Ams have done their pit stops. And now look to see if they can get that little bit of room to play with. Henry Platt catching up to Mike LaRue at the moment by 0.5 of a second. Loses out under braking. Daniel De Villiers leads out that little train and is keeping a very close eye on the review mirrors at Nissan GTR. A little less compliant into the corner now, as it was a short stop. It was just about getting a splash and dash and continue their way forward. Benjamin Till and Graham Kelly, who are back out on circuit a little bit further down. But you can see Reginald now ahead of Benjamin Till, and will be looking to take that McLaren, extend the gap as quick as he can to stay in for the fight for the top running order, knowing that it's going to be a tough fight out there. Keegan Bowen, if he scores another victory here tonight, that is lock solid. He's got the championship in second place. Remember, between Gerald Pretorius and Reginald Mutalini is critically close, and Reginald has to finish ahead of Gerald Pretorius at all costs. It has to be pressure on, move forward no matter what. Kerry Duplessis and Vessel Motor, two teammates working with each other, pulling each other along at this stage of the game, looking for a bit of protection to one another and to close up to Chris Beamister and Jonathan Crislet further up the road. Chris Beamister on the Extreme Sim Racing team taking on Jonathan Crislet, and I do expect this to start becoming a little bit of a short, because the Extreme Sim Racing team of recent has been on a big media campaign to create shorts to go and show off their racing, both the pros and the cons, from the exciting moments to the tear-jerking moments and the big crashes. It's good to see drivers going and showing all sorts and taking to the sim racing community in fashion, showing what they can do. So I've got to give hats off to those out there. Vega Frubler, Team Wolf, trying to move forward along with Jonas Krailing in second place for the Raven West team. Jace Farmer, the Griffin Sim Racing team. Do want to take my hats off to the Griffin Sim Racing team and to Team Wolf that have been racing in overseas leagues and have been waving that South African flag high and mighty, and they continue to try and do so. Jeffrey LaRue looking to go onto the attack for Ulrich Diaga, who currently leads out the Pro-Am field. It's been one of his best qualifyings of all season, and this looks to be one of his best runs if he can keep ahead of Jonathan Chris, Vessel Woda, Mike Berg, Christian Zetzman, Keegan Bowen, Reginald Mutsaleni, Benjamin Till. He can get into the top 3. This is Ulrich's best run through it all. Because, actually not, it won't be his best because he's come second in round 1, second in round 4. But ever since then, just hasn't been on the podium. So round 2, he got 10th. Round 3, he got 10th. Round 5, he got 15th. Round 6, he got 5th. To be back on the podium will move in the head of Anton Lummers and Conrad Martin, who he is very, very close in the championship with, and wanting to keep that run. But he has to keep an eye. Benjamin Till sits on 174 points behind him in the championship, and Ulrich sits on 182. They're both running 6th and 7th respectively, and now trying to give that last little push towards the end of the championship to see where exactly they can come into moving forward. Michael Berg into pit lane, trying to get himself sorted out as well, and will be focusing on the charge. 29 cars out on circuit at the moment, and so far no one backing down from the fight. As much as this track can be a pain in the backside to try and get a pass done, you have to keep that rhythm, you have to keep that flow. Do not let the pressure break you, because it takes a meter out of your braking zone to go and fall off the circuit. You have to be committed, relying a lot on that aero and mechanical grip that you've got in your setup to move forward. And with the train starting to spread out amongst one another, you start thinking about that undercut and overcut. And to even point out how much of an overcut and undercut, we haven't even hit 20 minutes yet, and so far our top 14 are the only drivers that haven't pulled into the pits. Everyone else from 14 to 29 have already done their pit stops. They got themselves sorted out, and they're continuing on the race. They're going that little bit further, seeing where exactly they can come out with a severe undercut to the rest of the field. As further up, we did get a bit of a yellow flag, and that's from these two who are putting a wheel offline. Likes of Farmer and Kraling, who put a wheel off circuit. Jason Farmer on the back of Johannes at the moment, trying to see where exactly can he get that small block Lexus V8 to get past the big block of Johannes Kraling, the Ford Coyote motor underneath this Ford Mustang against the Lexus V8. It's a small block versus big block, trying to see where the drivers are going to be fighting it out and going to be doing everything they can. And this is a wild run for drivers to move forward, to see what they can do. And I do know our amazing petrol heads out in the grandstand. It's wonderful to have you guys here. Dennis Butter going and asking whether it's going to be a good run for the first race in iRacing around Nords. It is a plan, but it's not confirmed as yet, as we've got a bit of work to do. And I did see a car that was in pit lane and left. Who was that? And it looks like that might have been one of the Extreme Sim Racing team, or it was one of the Raven West team. I'm trying to figure out who exactly dropped out, because Herbert Whitner is still around, Chris Bemister's around. There is Jason Farmer taking the inside of Johannes Kraling. But we did have a car leave, and unfortunately that throws him down to 28 cars out on track. Michael Berg and Donnie Stenkamp continuing on their race. Don't see the driver who has left. It might have been Alfred Jackson going, but it's out the corner of my eye to go and point it out. Benjamin Till and Reginald Mutsaleni fight it out. Mike Berg and Donnie Stenkamp still in pit lane, and that is a long time that they're in pits. That is a very long time, and I do think it's from severe damage. Looking at that Mustang, Donnie Stenkamp is broken to pieces. Michael Berg leaving pit lane now has completed all his stops. So a big critical mistake came from the drivers, and unfortunately that went and binned out a few races. And that might have been Jack Darts who got caught out. Looking at the rear, it could quite possibly have been this number 88. That was in pit lane. Herman Webner caught up to Jared McComb, trying to see where they can go. 14 drivers yet to come into the pits. The last of those drivers is Christian Zetzman, who holds on to 4th in the Pro-Am class at the moment, trying to see where exactly he can move forward. Round from the race has got Ulrich Diaga right up his tailpipe. He's brought Jeffrey LaRue in for the mix as well, as they caught up to Sean Loureiro, who is about behind. And I mean, this is going to be a bit of a run for Sean Loureiro, as you can see. Round for the race, taking every bit of the circuit to move forward. However, hasn't had the easiest of times. Ulrich Diaga and Jeffrey LaRue continue out on their time. Tennis Berta will be communicating with the Pandacity team that is in the race for both our Pro and Pro-Am and the Gold and Silver, going and letting them know what's happening out on circuit, going and showing a bit of support after taking a podium on Tuesday. So congratulations once again on that podium. Rob van der Heide on a stellar run in LMU last night, going and having a ton of fun towards the sharp end of the field. Herman Whitner and Jared McComb continue their battle, and Jonathan Chrislett holds second of the Pro-Am. Herman getting a little bit frustrated at the moment and trying to see where exactly can he get past Jared at the moment. Team Wolf and Team Extreme going and pushing one another for that 8th and 9th position respectively. Take a look. Herman keeping 2 fingers on those shift pedals at all times to get in and out through the gearing. Now for some drivers, they actually take their fingers off the pedals, go back to the steering, and they'll rather cycle their way around just to ensure they maintain hard grip on the steering, especially when there's that snap oversteer just like that out on track. And nearly got a smile out of Herman. Nearly. Tells me he's watching. But do notice that there is a particular driving style to each of the drivers out in the field, and their little quirks that come out during the course of the race, maintaining focus, maintaining their pace. Now let's talk about this train from the likes of 4th all the way through to Jeffrey LaRue, who holds out on 7th position. Ulrich Diaga, a Pro-Am driver, is in amongst the pros. Does he back off and allow the likes of Jeffrey LaRue, his teammate, and a pro driver to come through? Oh, never mind, round for the race. Just decides he's going to go off circuit, and oh, big tank slapper slide. He's able to save it, but falls right the way down. There is Jared McComb and the likes of Herman Whitner coming through, and immediately onto the back of him, looks in the mirrors. There's Jonathan Chrislett, who's gone right onto the back of him. He has got Chris Biermeister. So critical mistake, running onto the grass. The wheels touching and snapping out underneath him has now thrown him down the order and out of that 4-car train. But he also will have really hurt the tyres in the process, trying to push that little bit harder, trying to get that little bit more grip, but will have to take at least a lap to just let things cool down and come back to him. A deep breath, a refocus, and eyes forward to where the race needs to be. Mike LaRue and Daniel de Villiers currently lead out the front runners that have done their first pit stop and got it out of the way. Michael Berg, the only driver who has completed all his pit stops, now trying to make his way through. Remember, he's going to have to go through the pits yet again unless he can save fuel for about an hour in these cars. Now, it is possible. It is possible. A lot of lift and coasting. A lot of not straining out the tires, so you've got to keep the steering angles short and not as aggressive. Open the corners up for yourself and don't get into fights. Very easy to talk about, harder to put into play when you are nose to tail in epic battles like here at RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship out on ACC for round 7 of the EG Evolve ACC GT3 Championship, where it's all about moving forward. Jared McComb, hard defense, runs out wide as Herman Whitner took the inside line, got the pass done. Jared slots in behind him, and now we'll just see with Jared. With Herman ahead of him, Jared will be trying to eye out the advantages. He's been leading out the train, but now the swapper up means that he can save a bit of fuel, see where Herman is, and utilize the tow moving forward. 59 minutes left of this race. Still lots to go on. Bego Hobler checking out of the fight by 8.5 seconds. Needs to start considering that first stop. When is he going to get it done? When can he get it done that doesn't throw him too far down the field? A victory here tonight means that he can fight for the championship. It is 50 points if you come in first, and this is critical for the championship if he wants to take it right to the end to Christoph Peterson next week. Second place will get 43 points, third place will get 38 points. That is in each of the classes. With that being said, you can tell how crucial it is for everyone. Ulrich Diaga, Jonathan Chrislett, Vessel Woda, Christian Zetzman, who are the only Pro-Am drivers that have not dived into the pits, will be concerned if Keegan Bowden, Reginald Matalini, Benjamin Till, Jack Doss, Graham Kelly, and so many more behind that continue on this race that little bit longer, trying to eye out what they can do. And this is where the team in the background, and it's crucial for the team to go and give that little bit of information on where you can be to safely secure your run in the championship, to safely give you an idea of where you need to finish in amongst the top runners. That is a different battle out of all of it. You have to start finding out markers, and this would have been a discussion in the back, in the pits, prior to this race, saying, right, we need a top 5, or a top 6, or a top 3, or a top 4. This is the target lap times we need as well. These are critical little moments in planning that you don't think actually happen, but the drivers go through a lot of practice, a lot of working out with their teams to get exactly this point. It's Mike LaRue trying to attack the PWSR Daniel de Villiers. Daniel, who didn't quite have the best of runs in the ERA Masters League on Sunday last week, now trying to carry some movement through the field, and he keeps a close eye on Mike LaRue, but flasher lights to Christian Zetzman further up the road, saying, listen, chap, I'm coming through. You need to come into the pit still. I'm a pro driver. Please just give me a gap here, because Mike LaRue is all over the tail. Christian Zetzman, as a driver on the same lap, doesn't have to move out of the way, but can be a gentleman in doing so, stopping Daniel de Villiers from losing that little bit of time. But in doing that, he does run out wide, allows Daniel de Villiers to put his nose in with a bit of aggression as well, runs Christian Zetzman out wide. Christian, bit of track awareness coming into play, also knowing what's around him and who he needs to fight with, opting not to fight for that overall track position, allows Daniel to come through after a little bit of an argy-bargy push through, but Mike LaRue instantly came back on him, trying for that pass, trying to see where he can go. You can see how much they've actually fouled each other up, that Christian Zetzman immediately back on the rear bumper of Mike LaRue at the moment, and still pushing to go that little bit further, still trying to see where exactly he can tie into this run and how they are going to stand at the sharp end of the field. This is always huge moments for the drivers out on track that try and figure out what is the best run for them without losing too much time. And with the camera, you can see how much change in camber and the undulations of the circuit affect these cars, going and putting some massive loads through the wheels, through the suspension to keep you thinking, keep you moving forward, but also will be taking a lot of life out of the tires in the process, and also fueling becomes a very crucial factor. 54 minutes remain of this race, and still a lot of time with the likes of Bego Frobler and Jason Farmer holding on to the top 2, Johannes Freiling in 3rd place. That is the top 3 of the pros, and it is our top 3 overall. Ulrich Diaga in 5th place leads out the Pro-Am, with Jonathan Chrislett in 2nd place, and Vessel Woda, who is currently holding on to the top 3 of our Pro-Am division, trying to close up to Chris Biermester a little bit further up the road. Graham for the race, and Jonathan Chrislett just a little bit ahead as the train starts to build up. Terry Duplessis not making any attacks with Vessel Woda at the moment, trying to wait his time and see where he goes. And we do have a driver that's returning to the track after having a little bit of work done to him in hospital, and that's Hilton. Wonderful to have you out there in the virtual grandstands under the EG Vault VIP banner. So it's good to see so many drivers out and enjoying the sunlight here at Zandvoort. A very warm day for the drivers to compete with, and it is a different type of drive at the moment. This circuit can get very cold, very fast, very hot, but also the grip levels are almighty around this circuit, and it requires you to really dig in and focus to move forward. Jeffrey LaRue and Ulrich Diaga keeping within close proximity of each other, has got Sean Larrera ahead. The Griffin Sim Racing team working currently from 4th, 5th and 6th position to pull each other along to try and get a little bit closer to Jonas Railing. Nearly 6 seconds up the road. Jason Farmer a little bit further down will be also considering his options to go and either overcut or undercut Bego Froblo, who currently holds the fastest lap time of the race, and still continuing on their charge. Ulrich Diaga sits with a 36.2 as his last. His best lap time is a 135.8. Chris Biermeister trying his absolute best. Jonathan Chryslet got a 36.1. So at the moment, Ulrich Diaga holds the fastest lap time of the race within the Pro-Am division. But no, never mind. It was Keegan Bowen with a 135.5 that holds the fastest lap time. And why I bring that up is because in the championship, the fastest lap time scores you 2 extra points. And that little 2 extra points can sway the factors. It can sway where you're able to gain time, gain an advantage in the championship, or lose out that advantage. For our top runners, this is enough to either keep them in the championship and take them out of it. For Ulrich Diaga to stay in sharp running at the moment for the Pro-Am field, he's going to be more than happy to hold on to first overall at the moment, but will be keeping an eye on 18th position. That little bit of movement, seeing where Keegan's going to get into the pits to do one more stop early on, or going to take it to the end, that is going to be the factor that comes in for the likes of Keegan. If he can get into the top 3 by the end of this race, he secures himself in the championship. He is more than happy to get it done. As you do see Jonathan Chrysler battling out around for the race, trying to go underneath him with that Mercedes. Couldn't quite get the nose forward. Stood on the throttle, got uncomfortable, and now Chris Biermeister in the Extreme Sim Racing team trying to go around the outside, late on the brakes, couldn't quite get it done, but it is going to be Rian for the race, who sent it in a little bit too early and immediately fouled up. Chris Biermeister behind him, the Cromandoulis Racing team, all going and sitting around Chris Biermeister, nose and tail caught out. And this is where life is going to be a bit interesting for Chris Biermeister, as he's in a team fight that can either work with him or against him. And I have to say, it's going to be a rough call for the Extreme Sim Racing team. He's going to have to pull that pin on the grenade and move forward to catch up to Herm Whitner, who holds in 7th position, his teammate further up the road. But do not take out this little fight that's further back. These are the first 2 that have done their first pit stop and in the pro field. Mike LaRue and Daniel de Villiers going and carrying on the momentum. Daniel pulled the pin early on Mike LaRue to try and get that pit stop done and dusted. Mike came in afterwards as a bit of a thought process, going, right, what can we do? But now they're up through the field. They're staying within the fight and closing down towards the top 10. This is not what Bego Froblo, Johannes Kraling, Sean Larrera, Ulrich Diaga. But where is Jason Farmer? Jason Farmer, who was running at the top, is no longer on my timing sheet, and I think we may have just lost Jason Farmer out of this race. Yes, we have. Jason Farmer, due to mechanical failure of sorts, is out of this race, and that has promoted Sean Larrera up into 2nd place. Johannes Kraling up towards the 2nd place. Sean Larrera into 3rd. So with Farmer putting pressure on, unfortunately, now down quite a bit. And that has flipped the switch for Johannes Kraling to give it a little bit more go. For Sean Larrera, losing out his teammate, is now thinking, right, what do I need to do to keep moving forward? Sorry, we do have Jason Farmer coming in and out of the pits now. This is his 2nd pit stop. So hang on, he didn't disconnect. I apologize for this one, but an interesting call coming in. Dived into the pits. Got his pit stop first done. Double stacking it with 48 minutes to go. He's hoping to come out ahead of Donnie Steenkamp. But a very interesting call to do that, to get that one done and see how he's going to go. Vesselwater lost a little bit of drive and now gains it back, getting around Chris Biermeister and follows through with Kerry Duplessis. Daniel de Villiers gets onto the back of Chris Biermeister, dives for the inside line. Oh, a little bit of contact between the two. Chris tried to close the door. That went across the nose of Daniel de Villiers. Mike LaRue kept right behind him. And now we're starting to see the fights and the brawls. This is a late call, but unfortunately for Chris Biermeister, who got turned round by trying to close the door over Daniel de Villiers' nose, but that Nissan GTR Godzilla doesn't get called king of the monsters for no reason. A quick flash of lights to Vesselwater from Daniel de Villiers. Vessel going to be looking in these mirrors going, yeah, okay, no, I'm chasing my teammate here. You're going to have to work your way around us safely and work your way without a problem, as we do see Daniel dive into pit lane, leaving Mike LaRue and Henry Platt out to fight it out between one another. Vesselwater will not have to mind out of the way with Kerry Duplessis, but an interesting call coming in. Daniel de Villiers pulling the trigger on that one, seeing that Jason Farmer did exactly that. I mean, this is gonna be that little bit of a longer race. However, I do want to point out a top 11 yet to come into the pits. Bego Frobler, Johannes Freyler, Sean Lorero, Ulrich Diaga, leader of our Pro-Am, with Bego leading our pros. Jeffrey LaRue, Herman Whitner, along with Jared Beckham, Ram van der Race, Jonathan Chrysler, and Kerry Duplessis. Tailing on the back end of that is Vesselwater, who's got Mike LaRue. Big look on the inside. Oh, a little bit of a door bang between one another. Vesselwater not having the pace to catch up with Mike LaRue through the corner, but Mike not having the best of drive. Really tried his luck, goes for the defense against Vessel. The two of them sharing a bit of pace out here, and Vessel late on the brakes, takes a dive down the inside. He outbraked himself, trying to fight his way back, slowed it down on the apex through the left-hander. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful to get that move done. Goes to Vesselwater, just ahead of Mike LaRue. How he managed to slow that Merc down enough to keep ahead is beyond me. And those brakes must be in the red. And that forced Mike LaRue to change his strategy, dive into pit lane as Henry Platt came blasting on by. Chris Biermeister dives into the pits as well to follow suit. A very, very well done move. Well done to both drivers who swapped it between one another. I mean, that was mental on the way through. Jason Farmer now spots Bego Frobler ahead of him, but Jason Farmer has completed all these pit stops and keeps his drive going at 135.8. They need to sit within the 135.5s to keep up within the top 5 of our drivers, which is easier said than done when you're trying to overtake in and out through the field. Christian Zetzman and Keegan Boyd fighting it out, with Keegan trying to get himself back into the podium spots. He has done his first pit stop. Christian Zetzman has yet to get his final stops done and will be trying to figure out what is the big plan here. Christian Zetzman opens the door. Keegan up the inside. Not a problem there. Says thank you very much. Puts the hammer down and carries on his way through. Christian, I've got to admit, in through the same corner, has been very patient and welcoming to drivers. Almost a roll of the red carpet out there. Wonderful to see Jeffrey LaRue mowing the grass, and he immediately has Herman Whitner doing exactly the same. Whitner trying to carry the same amount of pace out of the corner and see if he can catch up to LaRue. But Ulrich Diaga spots his teammates in the mirrors. Not going to argue too much here, because one little move on each other can land up with consequences of note for Ulrich Diaga. He's looking to put himself back onto the podium spots here at Zandvoort. He's been on it only twice this season and wants to get it done yet again. So drivers will be pushing that a little bit more. Herman Whitner, as we go back to him a little bit further back, you can see the concentration coming out behind the Extreme Sim Racing team, trying to gain that little bit of time, roughly about 3 seconds from up ahead of him. You can see how much he's having to fight and really get a bit of torque on that steering wheel to get the Ferrari turned in and compliant underneath him, as he's one of the drivers that still needs to do his pit stop. By that longer, the more turning he's got in, the more rotation he's got on that steering wheel, the more he's starting to impact the tires. And you can see from the initial start of the race, it was just a fraction. Now it's getting worse and worse. You're turning in more and more and more, which means those tires are starting to give up the coast. You're losing that grip in them. And by overdriving, going and turning, putting too much rotation in, you're just creating more understeer as time goes on. You want to have less turning rotation to go through. These have got a very short, I would say, in the steering box, they've got a very quick gear to get themselves sorted, to a short rotation to turn them left and right. So we do see him, Webner, coming to the pits. So it takes minimal movement to get a full lock on the steering wheel. Except when you come to the stop, then they turn like a 2-ton truck. But when they're going, it's little movements on the steering wheel, not aggressive. The moment you start turning in way too much, and as soon as you hit 90 degrees on your steering in a GT3 car, one, that corner is incredibly sharp on you, and two, you're actually turning way too much and scrubbing those tires out. So you got to consider of slowing down a little bit more before the corner and opening the steering underneath you. That's just different ways the drivers can save and conserve those tires, but they have to be quite aggressive to ensure they stay in towards the top. Now, Herman Webner and Ferry Duplessis have pulled into the pits, leaving the likes of Vessel Woda to take on the last of the drivers that still need to pit. But take an interesting look out towards the sharp end of the field. Henry Platt, who has done his first stop, is ahead of Keegan Bowen, Christian Zesman, Brun Heineke, Benjamin Till, Reginald Mutileni, all going that little bit further. Daniel De Villiers has done his final stop, and that is to try and hold back Jason Farmer. But Mike LaRue is going to be a critical one here, because Mike LaRue is actually behind Jason Farmer. He's in 25th position, so going that extra lap has not helped him out, and now has compromised him quite a fair chunk. Graham Kelly still needing to do his stop in the Pro-Am field, trying to keep ahead of Conrad Martin and Gerald Pretorius, the two that really need to be in the sharp end of the field. Henry Platt now into the pits. We'll see if he comes out ahead of Daniel De Villiers. Vessel Woda would get that pass done and dusty. He's going to be happy to stretch his legs a little bit further, and leaving our top 9 to slug it out to see what they can do for those final stops. Other than our top 9, Christian Zetman a little bit slipped down the field in the 12th position. Still needs to get his first stop done and see how it works out. But some phenomenal racing coming out from the drivers, and some unusual names at the top of the field. Ulrich Diaga, I've got to say, wonderful to see him into the top 5, pushing as hard as he can, chasing down Sean Lerero, his teammate, and still leading out that Pro-Am field. But he will be taking, like Johnson Crystal and Veswodo, the only 2 drivers behind him who yet to do their first stop. But you've got Reginald Mutileni, Benjamin Till, and Keegan Bowen that have done their stop. As we've just got note that we're halfway through the race, and drivers now having to give it that final push. If you're not going to get your stop done and dusted now, it's going to be right into the last 20 minutes of the race and try and force a double stack to get it done. When we talk about that double stack, we talk about getting into the pits the first lap, go out and immediately coming back in. Short fuel, minimize the amount of time you're out on those jacks. Sean Lerero and Ulrich Diaga pulled into the pits. That's going to allow Jared Bacum to overtake them and move up into 4th position. Jeffrey LaRue continuing his drive on. So from the Griffin Sim Racing team, the only driver left out on the team that has yet to pull in the pits is this Ferrari, who now trying to catch up to Ruin Heineke further up the road, see if he can get past him. Just as a back marker, Jonathan Chrysler and Vesselwoda pull into the pits. Christian Zetman will be the next one to consider his options, whether he's going to pull into the pits or not. And it looks like he's going to go an extra lap as well, hoping to overcut during the course of this race, and see if that's going to help him to bring into the podium spots at the moment. But Keegan Bowen up into 9th position. Gerard Pretorius a little bit ahead. Gerard fighting in for the top 3 in the championship. Now has the leader of the championship right behind him and looking to put yet another lap over Gerard Pretorius. Blue flags means that you don't have to jump out of the way. You're just not allowed to fight into the corners. And well, Gerard going miles off into the dirt, trying to bring it back. He is right down from where he wanted to be. Not in a comfortable position, and battles his way through as Harry Duplessis and Mike LaRue. Take a look at this. Harry Duplessis going and defending like no tomorrow. This is a fight for position, not for class position, but Mike LaRue having to earn his shot around Harry Duplessis, whose elbows out racing at the moment. A solid defense. Well, there is for class position, apologies, but 2 different strategies coming here. But Mike LaRue losing critical time to Harry Duplessis, who is elbows out racing, solid defense, and just holding on those apexes beautifully. Mike LaRue tries to get it right up on the inside, outbrakes himself. Harry undercuts him, gets the drive on the exit. The Ferrari getting great rotation underneath it. Mike LaRue will be mincing his teeth together here, going and trying to figure out what can he do to get this pass done and dusted. Daniel De Villiers, Jason Farmer, Henry Platt further up the road continue to stretch open the gap, continue to go and move forward. And critical points in the championship for Mike LaRue, who runs in 3rd place, is losing time. He's losing points. He's losing critical points for the championship. This is a nightmare case scenario for him. Not what he wanted to have, but will be enjoying the fight. Henry Platt at the moment will 4th in the championship, and Jason Farmer will sit with a smile on their face. They watch on for this battle, going, right, this is good. This is an opportunity, as Mike LaRue having to really earn his way around Harry Duplessis, who's giving it absolutely everything, defending the inside line, even when Mike LaRue trying to bait him into a move, can't get it done. You can see Jonathan Chrysler, being that marker, has not been closed upon as yet and hasn't extended it. The pace is still good, but not enough for the 2 drivers who duke it out to close up that gap and make it a 3-way fight. Much to Jonathan Chrysler is going to be enjoying it. For Harry Duplessis, this helps out his team. This helps out Rian van der Race, who's now into pit lane with Jonas Grayling and Jared McComb. Bagar Krobler still circulating. Mike LaRue is fighting against Van der Race's own teammate here. That can impact the points even further into this race. For the Kramanulis Racing Machines, this is really good going. This is a solid fight for Mike LaRue. This is a problem that he's going to have to overcome rather swiftly, or risk losing out the opportunity to move forward. A little bit further down, King Bone and Chris Biermeister are keeping each other company at the moment. King Bone of the Ravenous Motorsport, the Raven West Machines, trying to keep ahead of the Extreme Sim Racing. Chris Biermeister, who landed up, turned around a little bit earlier. We saw with the contact, Bagar Kroble into the pit and Reginald Mutaleni into the pit. This is Reginald's last time into the pit, Bagar Kroble's first time into the pit. Rian van der Race now takes over the lead of the race and will need to get his pit stop done and dusted. So he's continuing out, or he can, sorry, apologies, not leading out the race. That is going to go on to Jack Darts if he can get round Bago Krobler. So back, Jack Darts, one more stop to go, leads out the Pro-Am with Ulrich Diaga in 2nd place and Conrad Martin in 3rd. Vessel Woda holds on to 4th. Daniel De Villiers leads out those that have done their pit stop, with Jason Farmer and Jonas Grayling tailing on behind. For Bagar Krobler, it is a sit and wait game at the moment. Long pit stop, up on the jacks, down and go. New set of boots been put on this car, and now we'll be trying to generate enough heat into the tires to keep pushing that a little bit longer. But it means next pit stop is going to be a short one. It is a splash and dash to the line. Vesselwader putting up a fight against Daniel De Villiers, as Daniel needs to continue the drive. He will be looking for every opportunity to get on past. He's got Jason Farmer hunting him down. de Villiers will want to cleanly get past Vesselwoda, not to lose out time, and to try and bring himself a little bit closer to the top 3 in the sharp end. Jack Darts pulls into the pits, and it looks like William Wentworth as well. Daniel de Villiers around the inside, dives in to try and get the pass. They are fighting for overall track position, so there is every reason for Vessel to take the fight to him. But what a move from Daniel de Villiers, lining it up for turn 1. You can see how much he's closed up the distance. He's got Jared Bakum ahead of him. Jared, teammate to Bago Frobler, can now go on a solid defense against Daniel de Villiers and continue to try and hold the line at the moment, back up the Team North team, and also to go and hold position for his championship hopes as well. Jared Bakum a little bit further down in the championship. Will be looking to see where exactly he needs to finish, with being 10th in the championship and a DNS further down. But a big talking point coming in for the Pro-Am, and that is Conrad Martin with a stop-go 32nd for speeding in pit lane. Conrad Martin, who's 4th in the championship, stop-go 30. Talk about a race not going your way. Will be going and kicking himself. Getting off the button a little too early has now compromised him out of the championship, and will need to visit the pit lane yet again during this race, and will be suffering a big defeat in his running for the championship. So not quite ideally what he wanted, but will now need to consider the options of where can he move forward. Mike LaRue can't get past Kerry Duplessis at the moment, has been battling, but the rear has been losing grip underneath him. He's been thinking, what does he need to do to get that little bit of drive, to get past Kerry Duplessis, to try and close down to the rest of the field, to see if he could stay in, as we did see. That looked to be Rian for the race to pulled into the pit lane for his final pit stop. Daniel de Villiers and Jared Bakum fight out for 6th and the 7th position. Daniel completed all his stops. Can't afford any damage to his car at the moment. Vesselwoda and Jason Farmer a little bit further back, going and brawling out with one another, trying to see where exactly they can get the advantage. For Jason Farmer, he wants to close up to Daniel de Villiers up ahead of him. Vesselwoda wants to get a little bit closer to the likes of Jared Bakum to try and secure his spot in the Pro-Am. As Jonathan Chrissett yet to get into the pits, has a big look on the inside, around the outside. Daniel de Villiers can't quite get past the Porsche as yet. Jared holds the line. A solid defense between the two of them as they charge down to the left-hander. It's going to be late on the brakes. Jared goes at defense, the rear end of the Porsche just managing to live with it. The grip coming in right at the last, traction control also going and trying to keep himself alive at the moment, trying everything to utilize every aid in the car to get this car around the track without too much pain. But the more he defends, the more he helps out his teammate Bago Frobler, who's got a substantial lead at the moment, but not to be torn apart. Jason Farmer in a world of trouble with Vesselwoda ahead of him, and take a look, Jonas Kraling joining in for luck. A big look down the inside for Jason Farmer. He does manage to slow it down on the apex. Vesselwoda having to go and yield at that point. Now it's Jonas Kraling on the back of him. Kraling trying to play a little bit of catch up at the moment. Sees where he needs to try and make the pass. Look for the inside. Couldn't quite get it hooked in. Had to wait just that little bit more yet again. Blue flags being shown further up the road for the drivers, but it is a mountain of a drive needed from every single one in the field to ensure they secure their spots. The only drivers yet to do their final pit stops: Bago Frobler, Sean Larrera, Jeffrey LaRue, Herman Wepner, Ulrich Diago, Jared Bakum, Vesselwoda, Jonathan Chrissett, Kerry Duplessis, and Chris Biermeister, rounding out the pack of final drivers to get their pit stops done and dusted. Herman Wepner all over the back of Jeffrey LaRue now. A different sim racing team against the Extreme sim racing team are going to be pushing each other, and there's Ulrich Diago in the background. They will be assisting with a bit of radio comms from what he can see roughly 3 seconds back, and giving an idea to Jeffrey LaRue if there is minor adjustments being had, meaning that Jeffrey LaRue doesn't have to watch his rearview mirror as tentatively as he would having no information feeding through. Jonas Grayling going out wide, getting caught out behind Conrad Martin. Conrad trying to give it a little bit of a lift. Wessel Voda getting past, and now Jonas Grayling trying to get underneath him. Gets on the power, just not enough for the Mustang to go and really keep it all together. Conrad Martin was a cork in the bottle, but unfortunately that fouled up. Likes of Jonas Grayling. Henry Platt getting the pass done and dusted, now joins the three and will be trying to do everything he can to close up on the field. Henry Platt, who fights out within the top 5 of the championship, looking to score some solid points at the moment, holds on to 4th of those in pro. They have completed their pit stops, with Jonas Grayling holding on to that 3rd place at the moment. For Grayling, it is crucial to get the pit stop done as Vessel outbrakes himself, loses out the run. He does cut off the nose of Henry Platt, and that is exactly what Jonas Grayling wants to have happen. And now he needs to concentrate on his drive. Henry Platt from Moscow Motorsport, who's recently moved over to the BMW M4 GT3 car, as he does go and race with Moscow Motorsport, which is a BMW only team. This is his final season in the Bentley before jumping over to the BMW for future seasons here at RaceFace.Pro. So great movements for him and for the now BMW driver in the Z3. Let's go a little bit further back through the field. Kerry Duplessis, Mike LaRue, Keegan Bowen and Chris Biermeister all running in tow. No one able to get the edge on one another. Keegan Bowen at the moment looking to stay into the podium spots, will want to try and get a victory here tonight to secure a complete hold down on the championship, but we'll see these two brawling out ahead with Kerry Duplessis and Mike LaRue costing a bit of time to one another and to everyone behind, but he doesn't want to get into the mix because one wrong move means that he's going to lose out a few crucial points. Mike LaRue once again takes to the inside line over the dirt, trying his luck, and oh, it's contact and it's a bumper bash in the back. Keegan Bowen went into the back of Kerry Duplessis. Chris Biermeister got caught up in it as well, having to stand on the anchors, and Kerry Duplessis losing out a lot of time there. Will be not keen on how that all worked out underneath him. And unfortunately, not only going and taking a fair amount of damage to his drive. We talked of what can happen when a mistake kicks in. Well, there is one of the mistakes. Unfortunately, Kerry Duplessis got that bump in the rear, and from Keegan Bowen by the looks of it, and that unfortunately tapered him back into the field. And now Chris Biermeister also lost that drive as he had to come to an immediate halt in the fight as well. Herman Webner into the pit lane, and a quick getting sweat over the brow, looking over to where the rest of the drivers are as Daniel De Villiers rounds out the final corner and will be looking to gain. Sorry, this isn't the final corner. He's a bit far back actually at the moment, but he will want to try and get ahead of Herman Webner. No, this is the first sector. He's cleared Herman Webner just enough. Daniel De Villiers will be more than happy to try and fight his way through. Did he actually get past Herman? I don't think. Yes, he has. He has cleared Herman, so fair enough on that one. Jared McComb will be following suit. Jason Farmer, Jonas Grayling, Henry Platt, Wessel Voda, and Herman Webner now a little bit further down the order has got Keegan Bowen chasing him down. Mike LaRue has gotten ahead of him. So Herman Webner down into 13th position, out of that top 10 at the moment, has got Keegan Bowen for a bit of company to fight it out and see where they move forward. Keegan, however, will be looking to get a victory in the pro, and Field needs to get ahead of Wessel Voda, Jonathan Chrysler, and Ulrich Diaga, who still holds on to that top 4. So Ulrich Diaga has got one more pit stop, but he's got a lot of room to Herman Webner at the moment, but needs to keep that well enough in mind. Beggar Krobler trying everything he can to open up the gap. A victory here tonight and fastest lap time of the race will bring him 11 points closer into the final round, where it will be all or nothing for the championship. It will be the likes of Christoph Peterson not to finish in the top 5 for Bego Krobler to take the victory and take the crown away from the German. However, he needs to secure the victory here tonight to ensure that happens. Sean Larrera in second place and Jeffrey LaRue holding on to top 3 for our pros. Ulrich Diago, Vesselwood and Jonathan Chrisley, all 3 needing to get into the pits as well, with Daniel de Villiers hunting them down and looking to be at the sharp end of both pro and the field, with Jason Farmer and Janus Kraling closing up the distance between them. Farmer onto the back of Jared Bakum, with Janus Kraling keeping pressure on him. So for Jared, it's now defend, go and make those elbows big as Janus Kraling goes for the inside, as Jason Farmer getting a little bit squeamish under braking, and to straighten up that steering quite a bit. Kraling trying to get underneath him, trying to see if he could drive that nose underneath. Couldn't quite get the move done, but it's definitely showed the intent to Jason Farmer. This is where it's all about mind games. For 22 minutes ago, drivers starting to feel the pressure, that mental stamina starting to run out, the physical stamina starting to run out from every single one of these competitors as they continue to push on that little bit further, trying to see where exactly can they gain that drive. And in that one shot, we could see from 4th all the way down to 9th of the cars staring at the rear taillights of one another, once again putting the factor of I can catch, but I've got to keep focused. This circuit's about rhythm, and towards the end of the race, every single time we start to see drivers losing that rhythm. They go from doing the Macarena all the way to doing the time warp. 2 very different songs, but can land you up in a world of trouble if one's playing versus the others during a bit of a ball. Think of it at a wedding. So while each of the drivers trying to tango with each other, they've got to make sure not to step on each other's toes, but will also need to keep the pace moving forward. For those that still need to pit, they need to ensure they have enough pace to keep their way to the sharp end of the field, to keep ahead of the pack, to maintain some standing, as they have committed to a very late call in this race. With 21 minutes to go, Jason Farmer fishtailing into the right hand of the very, very tight chicane that allows Janus Kraling to come at him. He's able to hold the line through the left-hander, but those rear tyres are begging for mercy at this stage of the game. They are calling and saying, listen, got a problem here. The more that you slide around like this, the more I'm going to let go, as we do see Rian van der Race into pit lane. Rian van der Race getting his pit stop done and dusted, which is peculiar because he's already done all these stops. Did he think that maybe a short stop is needed because he just didn't have enough fuel? Pushing that a little bit harder has cost him crucial time as Janus Kraling gets past the likes of Henry Platt. Let's go back 30 seconds to see how that pass was done. Down our main straight, Jason Farmer was affecting his rear tyres. Did the rear step out underneath him and force Kraling to go for the inside line and get it done and dusted? Farmer out wide, very, very wide. Kraling gets an easy overtake there. The grip falling away from Jason Farmer. Kraling saying thank you very much, and now can pull himself a little bit closer to Jared Bakum and try and break away from that Lexus ahead of him. So a very, very interesting coming into play for Farmer, and pushing harder and harder, has eaten out those tyres, and you can see how he's losing time. Even Henry Platt starting to close the distance. Has he used too much fuel, and has he taken too much life out of those tyres? It's thrown him into a little bit of a negative situation. For Jason Farmer in 8th place at the moment, will have Henry Platt in 9th coming in, back in for the attack, and see if he can get that big Bentley to work with him. Benjamin Till trying to close up the gap to Ferry Duplessis, who still needs to get one more pit stop done. Benjamin Till has been on a great run at the moment, but now just a little bit off the mark, having to see where he can move forward. At the moment, Ulrich Diago, Vesselwoda, Jonathan Chrislett hold on to the top 3. Keegan Bowen will be inheriting the positions if they take too long in the pits, but Benjamin Till will be eyeing out to try and capture that second place, to put himself into the podium running. As we do see, oh, that is Keegan stopped. Keegan stopped. For whatever reason, Keegan Bowen stopped. A quick swap round, Ruben Heineke having contact with Chris Biermeister. A quick turnaround for Heineke. What on earth happened to Keegan Bowen? What on earth happened that went and created a big spar of problems after the fact? Flat out, fifth gear, the car shut down. He hit the kill switch. He hit the kill switch on his car and had to refire it back up. Keegan Bowen hit the kill switch, and you could see as they snaked around him, then suddenly sees Heineke and Chris Biermeister off to save a bit of moves. But Keegan Bowen, with a monster problem, has now had a problem, and that one camera shot went and showed a little bit of a problem with him. So for whatever happened, Keegan Bowen stopped to the right-hand side, and that created a huge run for Ruben Heineke to have a bit of a dodge around with Chris Biermeister there, the two of them breaking into turn one, not realizing how close they were, as we do see Keegan Bowen off into the dirt. He's flustered, he's flopping, he's all over the show right now. Has our current leader of the championship gone and just got himself into a bit of a negative situation? One crucial mistake, that gremlin sitting in the back of his head, now shouting and scratching and clawing away, taking all that focus and throwing him down the field. This will be one of his worst runs from looking at taking a victory. It is all gone and thrown into a ball of chalk, and now leaves the sharp end of the field to Ulrich Diaga, Visselode, and Jonathan Chrysler to go and get their pit stops just right to get ahead of Benjamin Till and Keegan Bowen to have their go at a top three, changing out the run. This may be an opportunity for those that have not stood in on first place this entire season. They have not seen that top step. Finally have their chance in the spotlight. But what needs to be done is crucial moves. Chris Biermeister into pit lane for his final stop and getting some work done to the car. Not once but twice he has landed up door to door with the car. Ruben Heineke was the latest of those battles, and now getting himself sorted out. Will be taking a little bit of time to get that car fixed up, get ready to go, and back out onto the circuit. 29 cars started, 29 cars remain. Not a single one has gone out of this race. Jonathan Chrysler into the pits to get his final pit stop done and dusted. He's going to hope to come out ahead of Benjamin Till, Keegan Bowen, Reginald Matalini to try and stay in for the podium spots. The question is he going to be fortunate enough to do that? Because here's Benjamin Till cleanly past him. He's got Harry Duplessis up the road. That means that he's managed to lose out that third place spot. Benjamin Till up into third. Keegan Bowen now in fourth place as Benjamin Till trying to see where he can fight Harry Duplessis for overall track position. Once again, overall track position, not class position, and on two very different strategies. Harry, with one more pit stop to go, continues to open up that little bit of a gap. Giannis Frayling having a go at Daniel De Villiers, Jason Farmer a little bit further back behind Jared Bakum, who's still got one more stop to go. For Frayling, this is his opportunity to put himself onto the podium with Daniel De Villiers, who are chasing down the likes of Sean Lerero, Jeffrey LaRue, as we do see Ulrich Diaga into the pits. Oh, bit of a move coming in from our big Mercedes Thunder Racing. Contact between De Villiers and Frayling. Contact between the two. And that has twisted the entire race around. Let's quickly take a look at that from a helicam. It's hard to call, but I do think Daniel De Villiers wasn't expecting Thunder Race to slow down on the right-hand side. He hoped to get in the toe. They close each other up. Not a lot of room to play with. Middle of the circuit, and Crailing, a little bit late on the brakes, clipping the rear of Daniel de Villiers, and that has just changed the landscape of this race completely. De Villiers went from leading out those that have done the pit stop to Johannes Crailing, a little too late on the brake, clipping the rear and sending him into the shadow realm, has now promoted Jason Farmer up. And take a look at Henry Platt trying to go around the outside of Thunder Race, who is a lap down at the moment, trying to give some position back. But Daniel de Villiers will have to clear past these fighting duo. There's a big look on the inside for Henry Platt. Comes across the nose of Thunder Race, who's trying to keep the drive. Platt managing just to sweep across and gets that little bit of a slide. Sees Daniel de Villiers closing up on him. Frustration will be underneath that helmet for de Villiers as he hopes to close up to Henry Platt, who's got from the race, chasing him down, keeping those mirrors very, very busy. Both Van der Race and the likes of Daniel de Villiers visiting the dirt behind Henry Platt, who stares further up the field to Jason Farmer, Jared Bighum, and Johannes Crailing, who now leads out those that have done their pit stop. Bego Hrubler, Sean Loureiro, Jeffrey LaRue, and Jared Bighum are the drivers within the top 5 needing to do their pit stops. Harry Duplessis rounds up those that have already done their pit stops with so much to give, so many points on the table. It's crucial for the drivers to get a great run here in round 7 to try and take the fight into round 8. Reginald Mutileni chasing down Benjamin Till. Behind them is Keegan Bowen, who is not giving up the fight at the moment. He's made some mistakes, but now needs to fight his way through. Benjamin Till holding a solid defense. Reginald looks for the inside. Ferry also holding onto the center line as Benjamin Till having to attack and defend at the same time, creating that Constantina effect to get worse and worse underneath him. And we'll be trying to figure out what is the options, what is the plan to keep moving forward. Bego Hrubler, who did the stop, was 8 seconds ahead not too long ago. Now trying to stretch that gap to Sean Loureiro, who is on a mission to close down the distance. Jeffrey LaRue holding on to third place. The Griffin Sim Racing team wanting to secure a second, third in this race. We'll have to keep ahead of this man here, Johannes Crailing, who enters into turn 1, who wants to put himself onto the podium. Jared Bighum a little bit further down keeps Henry Platt and Jason Farmer at bay, who have opened up a little bit of room to Daniel de Villiers, who hooks onto the dirt. Daniel de Villiers having a tough time out there to try and keep it all together. Herman Whipner trying to close up to Mike LaRue further up the road. And we did see Gerald Pretorius, unfortunately, a bit far down this time around, will be sitting mincing his teeth out of frustration. Ulrich Diaga holds on to the lead of the Pro-Am. Can he get a victory here tonight with Benjamin Till and Reginald Mutileni sitting in second and third position? Will be doing everything they can to keep the momentum going. And for the first time this season, Keegan Bowen, if he can't clear Reginald Mutileni as he's gone for that pass, has managed to get it hooked in and done. For Keegan Bowen, it's crucial that he finishes in the top 3 to not only carry enough points into the next race to secure it, but to keep the momentum moving forward. Remember, this driver has yet to finish below first place. This would make his first ever non-first place, and he's got it wrong, and it impacted to the wall. Comes back towards Jonathan Chrislin, and you missed. And we were just talking about it. Commentators' curse kicking in right at the last, and that is Keegan Bowen getting caught up. Reginald Mutileni as well got a tongue slapper, puts it into the wall, and his chances onto the podium thrown out. Keegan Bowen getting into the wall, took a little bit of a hit, and now will be going and scratching his head as Jonathan Chrisley up to third place with 9 minutes to go. Benjamin Till into second for the Pro-Am, and Ulrich Diaga holds on to first. It is going all upsy-turvy and topsy-turvy, apologies, during the course of this race. No one able to say who's going to successfully come where, because Zandvoort is pulling out all the stops to yank away the positions, to keep the pressure on. Jared Verkuim goes out wide. Jason Farmer up the inside. Henry Platt now wants to try and clear past his Porsche as quick as he can to keep the pressure on to Jason Farmer. Further up the road, Jared losing that little bit of drive. Henry Platt not looking so comfortable behind. Goes and cycles his way around. And Jared gives him the position. A quick little break allows the drivers through, saying, right, I've done enough to open it up. Bagel Krobler's done his pit stops, and now I can focus on the drive. A quick flash of lights from Jared saying, you're welcome. Thanks for the race. Keep going. And that little bit of a push to move forward, showing the drivers working with one another. Ulrich de Jager looking to capture his first victory this season, and will be the driver, if possible, to take the fight towards the sharp end of the field. And what it would be to break the streak that Keegan Bowen has had all season long, who has been undefeated till now. Zandvoort has robbed him of his streak at this point. Herman Whitner and Mike LaRue fight out for position as well. They're out of the top three, but Mike LaRue doing everything he can to stay within the points. Herman Whitner as well, feeling the pressure, feeling the stress, trying to eye out his opportunities right now, focusing on entrances and apexes to keep Mike LaRue at bay. We do know Mike will send it down the inside. If he needs to become Postman Pat, he will get it done. But Herman Whitner, for Extreme Sim Racing, will have to get elbows out. He will have to go and ensure a solid defense to move forward, and to ensure he doesn't have his mini pit boss coming at him and saying he needs to improve as well. Henry Platt onto the back of Jason Farmer. The two of them fighting out for third place. Farmer wanting to finish up on the podium, wanting to stay in the fight. And for Jason Farmer, it's all about bragging rights at this stage of the game. He's not fighting out for the top three at this stage of the game, but a victory over Henry Platt here tonight will take him a bit closer into the points. And well, I'll talk about that actually. Henry Platt, Jason Farmer and Mike LaRue, if they manage to finish where they are, will be fighting for the bronze into round 8. So as it stands, Jason Farmer, Henry Platt, Sean Loureiro unfortunately will need to pit, and if he doesn't come out in front of these three, he will have a hard time in the championship. Keegan Moen into the pits is falling down the order from being on the streak like the Undertaker. Unfortunately has met his match. Zandvoort stripping him away of that. But at the moment we're seeing a fight. 3rd, 4th and 5th place in the championship. Not to take away 6th. If Mike LaRue cannot get ahead of like Sean Loureiro when he gets that pit stop done, well, 3rd place goes down to the wire in this championship. Much like the fight for 1st and 2nd will go down to the wire. Jonathan Christen and Jack Dodds running out with one another, and Jean-Ray Buerta in amongst the fight. With 5 minutes left to go, everyone pushing harder and harder. Rian van der Race in pit lane. So is Keegan Bowen. Looks like Rian van der Race has called it quits. Unfortunately, will not get that car across the line. Keegan Bowen doing some monster repair work to his car after having the car shut down on him. Impacts and slides. He has had the race fall apart underneath him, and now getting to see a completely different sharp end in the field. Oh, big contact coming in for Jonathan Christen and Jack Dodds, both landing up nose to tail, and Jonathan Christen able to get himself restarted. Jack Dodds, unfortunately, going a long way around, will lose out to Vesalodo and makes a very easy pass. Jared Verkuim into the pits, and a stop-go 32nd for Sean Loureiro. Another failure coming in. He had a drive-through, he had a stop-go last race. This time, got it into the pits, got off the button too early, stop-go 32nd, and this has taken him out the fight for third place in the championship. Once again, bad luck creeping into the Nissan GTR Griffin Sim Racing team pits and going and forcing Loureiro into a rough spot. And once you go off the button a little too early or diving in the pits too fast, there's no one else to blame but the driver itself. Will be sitting frustrated, irritated, thinking, what do I need to do to move forward? Daniel de Villiers behind Henry Platt with Jason Farmer further up through the field. For Farmer, he needs to maintain his position. He needs to give everything he's got. Jeffrey LaRue is yet to get in the pits, and by looking at Sean Loureiro falling down to 7th, Jeffrey LaRue will fall out in favor of the top 3, and now all that he's doing is circulating to the end, trying with 3 minutes to go to do that splash and dash to try and keep into the top 10. Ulrich Diaga, Benjamin Till, Jonathan Christen round out our top 3 in the Pro Am, still giving it everything they can. Vessel Woda wanting to push into that top 3, wanting to stay on the charge, as we do see Loureiro into the pit to serve his 30-second stop go, and taking a huge breath in that one. Herman Wepner will be rubbing his hands together along with Daniel de Villiers, who make on their way by Mike LaRue as well. Ulrich Diaga going and seeing his teammate getting caught out as well. He'll be saying, well, that's bad luck for you, buddy. But now I'm in towards the top 10 and moving up in the top 10. Not only leading our class, but having a great opportunity in doing so. Henry Platt onto attack for Jason Farmer. The fight out for third place. And who's going to take what advantage heading into the final race? Round 8 next week of the EG Evolve ACC GT3 Championship, powered by RaceFace. And this is going to be a crucial moment for each of the drivers. This is the crucial moment that you need to get every bit of pace underneath you to stay in for the fight. Jeffrey LaRue in the pit. Henry Platt nearly seeing his backside, touching the grass there, got out of shape. And this is now a fight for third position. Farmer, Platt, de Villiers. With 1 minute and 29 minutes to go, Bego Krubler leads out with Janus Kraling securing that second spot at this moment, with Daniel de Villiers, who at one stage of the game was in second, but the contact between Janus Kraling and himself took them out of the running, and now is sitting behind third and fourth, who are battling amongst one another. They do see William Wentworth a little bit further ahead, will get the blue flag, and they will be hoping to clear past as fast as they can, not to be caught out, not to be caught into a fight. They want to make it work, and you can see Platt throwing the car in and out. He is determined to get past Jason Farmer in any way necessary. Farmer, a solid defense right now, has become a solid brick wall, trying to hold on to the podium. He has missed out time and time again. Farmer has got 2 third places in this season, round 4 and round 6. And we've got alerted Bego Krubler on his final lap continues the drive. It is now or nothing for the fight and for the final podium spots. Ulrich Diaga is clean away from Benjamin Till and Jonathan Chrisley, trying to open up the distance to Vessel Woda as they give it their absolute all on the final lap. But there is Bego Krubler, your race leader, and currently running first in the pros, keeping it all together, has got the fastest lap time of the race, which means he will get 2 points added plus the 50. He'll have 52 points in, 11 points shy of Christoph Peterson into the final race, taking the championship into the final race for the pros. And it's got to be third place on the line as well. Henry Platt and Farmer giving it their absolute all. They're going to chase it down to the wire. Ulrich Diaga, Benjamin Till, Jonathan Chrisley, everyone hanging on, giving it that final push. It's now or nothing down to the final couple of corners. We're going to keep an eye on this fight for third place in the pro field. It is open through the rest. But Jason Farmer stopping the car dead on the apex, trying to hold Henry Platt at bay. That Bentley just not having the torque to go around the outside as he fishes the tail around, with Jason Farmer keeping it together, but Daniel de Villiers has closed it up. Krobler takes the checkered flag and will take it to the final round. Jonas Kraling will take second, but for third place, it is between Farmer, Platt and de Villiers. Who's going to give it the send? Who's going to give it the all? Who's going to get that moment? Farmer trying to keep the drive. With 1 corner to go, Platt sideways on the exit, loses out the run to Jason Farmer, who will take third, and it's Daniel de Villiers into the dirt, tried his luck, but what a stellar run, rounding out our top 5. Herman Whitner will take on 6th place, ahead of Jeffrey LaRue, who hangs on the back of him. Mike LaRue in 8th position, going and not having the best of races, but what a drive from that car. But Ulrich de Jager taking his first victory of the season and managing to break the 6-time streak of Keegan Bowen. Ulrich de Jager takes the victory in the Pro-Am. He is followed by Benjamin Till in 2nd place for the RAV BMW, and 3rd place going to Jonathan Chrysler as he rounds the final 2 corners. Jonathan Chrysler puts himself into the podium slots for the Pro-Ams, and what a drive for him. Last round he got a 2nd, this round he got a 3rd. He's on to the podium 2 weeks in a row. Wow, oh wow, folks, what a drive, what an exciting drive, what a moment for each of our drivers out here tonight. What solid defense. And, well, when you think it was all over, it all comes down to the final race next week. Who will stand at the top? Remember, for Keegan Bowen, he needed a top 3 here tonight to secure the championship. Unfortunately, finishing way down the order means that he has to get into the top running for the final race next week. We're taking the championship down to the wire across Pro and Pro-Am. And what a time to be alive. What a time to keep an eye on these drivers. And what a moment needed, had by all, to secure their spots for the 2026 Season 25 Championship of the EG Evolved RaceFace.Pro ACC GT3 Championship. I cannot believe what we just saw and how the drivers had to go and fight it out. And just taking some of the replays here and some of the highlights coming into this fact. And what a drive for them to move forward. What a drive to see them out there. And we're going to bring those drivers to come and have a chat to us, because this has been a race and a half. This has been a moment of note for our top runners. Benjamin Till managing to take 2nd place in the Pro-Am field. Let's have a chat to Benjamin Till on that one. Benjamin, welcome to the commentary box. What a race out there. 2nd place in the Pro-Am. How are you feeling? Because you had to drive out of your shoes this race.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, I'm sweating. It was a good race. A very random race. No major incidents for me, which is nice.
Now, take us through the circuit from a driver's point of view. How was it out there? I mean, this is not an easy track to pass, and you had to really work hard on those defenses. How was it out there?
It was tough. I had to defend Mittelani, and I was trying to get past, I think it was G Duplessis. I had 2 pressure losses on both my right tires, so I was running at 25s. So it was clipping and sliding all over the place. It was fun.
Now, with this momentum, you managed to grab 2nd place. What is your game plan heading into the final round to try and secure yet another podium in this race? And last question of it, how did it feel to see yourself hang on, you're now up to second. You're in for the run. You are fighting on the podium.
It was good. Just helps my chances in the overall, which is quite nice. So it's going to make the last race very exciting. Enjoy Monza, so just look ahead at that one and try keep it on the track.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. Benjamin, before I let you go, anything you want to say to our sponsor, EG Evolve, to everyone in the background, to all the drivers and teams out on the circuit here tonight, but most importantly, the absolute amazing petrol heads on the virtual grandstands cheering you along.
Well, obviously, thanks to everybody that's watching the stream and watching us and cheering, and to all the sponsors and RaceFace for making it possible. To my team, Ravenous, it's been a good season so far, and yeah, awesome. Thanks. It's good.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. Benjamin Till, aka Dr. Bean, managing to score up into second place. With that being said, let's bring in our first place competitor in the Pro-Am, in the BMW. It's the man in purple, Ulrich Tiaga. How are you feeling with that victory?
Good evening, Stephen. That was a nice, clean race. No pit stop mishaps. Yes, nice, clean race.
Let's talk about your qualifying, because that was incredibly quick. How are you feeling seeing yourself right at the top during qualifying and managing to maintain the pace against most of the pros as well?
Yes, that was a magic lap. I'm not sure where that came from. I actually sat on the grid and I told these guys, I was looking at the guys around me, and I told my teammates, I'm way out of place here. I can't believe the lap that I put in there.
And I have to ask, now that you've managed to secure a first place, seeing that your name was heading to first, what was the thoughts running through your head at the time of, hang on, I'm here, I'm in first. Everyone is now trying to push to close down the gap to you. What was running through your mind trying to handle that pressure towards the end of the race?
Was basically just focusing on keeping it clean, safe. Actually was quite relaxed the last few laps, or the last stint actually. Just keeping it cool, hitting every brake marker, every apex. So yes,
Now,
wasn't that nervous.
fair enough. Now, with that being said, you 6th in the championship. This has given you enough points to get ahead of Anton Lammers, Conrad Martin, and get closer to even your own teammate, Gerald Pretorius, Reginald Mitteleni as well in second place. What is your game plan heading into the final round of the championship next week, knowing a top 3 is on the cards here? You can possibly get yourself into third or even into second place into the championship running here at RaceFace.Pro for season 25 of the EG Evolved ACC GT3 Championship.
Well, like every week, a lot of practice, and hope for a clean start. It hasn't gone my way really this season. Had a few pit stop mishaps, and then taken out a few times. So yes, just hoping for a clean start, clean lap 1, and then it's game on.
Absolutely wonderful. Well, before I let you go to enjoy the celebration with the team, because there seems to be a lot of celebration here tonight for the Griffin Super Racing team, anything you want to say to the drivers, teams, to our race sponsor EG Evolved, and most importantly, everyone out in the virtual grandstands cheering on and shouting, "Go Griffins!"
Firstly, thanks for you. Great commentary every single week. And thanks for EG Evolve for sponsoring this, and my teammates for the support from their side.
Absolutely well done, and congratulations on that first place yet again. Ulrich Diago, the Griffin Sim Racing team, managing to capture the gold here in round 7. We're talking about capturing gold. Let's go back to our bronze, and let's have a chat to our pro drivers because, man, oh man, was it a race of note. Let's start off with our third place driver that had to fight with Henry Platt and Daniel de Villiers down to the line. Let's bring in Jason Farmer. Jason, welcome to the commentary box, and I'm sure you are sick and tired of looking in all three of the review mirrors as you were getting mugged towards the end.
Oh, Stephen, yeah. Well, sitting behind that, the pit stop down car, my tires were just gone completely. So, yeah, I think it was the dirty air that kind of messed me a bit. But it was a good race. Me and Kreiling had a battle in the beginning. I somehow managed to jump him in the pits, which was good. And then, yeah, his pace, because I didn't really have clear air most of the race, my tires were just completely gone after, I think, 6-7 laps. So, yeah, it was a struggle, but it was fun there. And P3 at least, yeah, just trying to hold on to to the podium there at the end with Platt. But yeah, it was good.
You were throwing that car around. Platt looked a little bit more wild underneath you. Towards the last 5 minutes, you said your tires were starting to go. Was there any concern of losing that P3, or were you comfortable of, okay, I know my car, I know the grip, I know what I need to do in this Lexus to try and hold the line? And were at any point you worried about Daniel de Villiers closing up on the two of you to also get involved in the fight?
Yeah, so I could see Platt was quite racy at the end. I've done quite a lot of playing around and drifting with the Lexus and stuff like that. So I'm kind of used to it on broken tires. It's just not fast. So yeah, it was just trying to try and completely destroy my entry so that I can get as best exit as possible. So I think also maybe Platt is getting a bit frustrated because I was a bit slow in, but I had to get all the exit I could. So yeah, and then with Daniel catching up to the back of us, I thought, okay, well, if I can maybe hold Platt a little bit longer, maybe Daniel can kind of poke a nose in somewhere and then relieve a bit of pressure from me. But yeah, it wasn't so easy. It was awesome though. Nice sweaty battle till the end, so it was good.
It was phenomenal to talk about. I could tell you that for a fact. Now, here's the crucial thing. You're taking some momentum into the final round. Mike LaRue, Henry Platt, yourself, all looking for third place in the championship. What is your plan to try and hook that third place in the final race of the championship? It's down to the wire. Your back's against the wall, but we've seen you pull a rabbit out of the hat more than once before. What is your game plan heading into the final race at Monza?
Yeah, Monza, Lexus, low wing. I'm gonna just be flying, hopefully. So yeah, it's been quite a up and down season. The beginning of the season was really rough, trying to get used to the car and everything like that. So I had quite a few bad positions. So I'm actually surprised that I'm even in the battle for a podium spot for the season. That would be awesome. And yeah, we did a race the other night at Monza, and the Lexus is quick. I'll just say that. So yeah, it should be a good one.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Before I let you go to enjoy the celebration, anything you want to say to our sponsor, EG Evolve, to the drivers and teams out on the grid tonight joining you, and more importantly, our absolutely amazing petrol heads out in the virtual grandstands cheering you on till the very end.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much to RaceFace for hosting this season, and to yourself for all the streaming. And yeah, to the sponsors, obviously without them we wouldn't be able to do this, so that's fantastic. And obviously the supporters, I mean, that's what we're here for. So yeah, good on them for rocking up every week and watching us. And it's definitely very appreciated amongst the group of drivers that we have. So yeah.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. Jason Farmer managing to secure third ahead of Henry Platt, 0.2 of a second across the line. What a drive from the Griffith Sim Racing team. Now, with that being said, let's have a chat to second place, Janus Kreiling, who got to show his way to the top. Janus, welcome to the commentary box and welcome to second place. How are you feeling after that race? It looked like a mental one from the driver's seat.
It was mental, and hi Steve and hi everyone watching in the grandstand. It was a very tough race. It was a tough qualifying. as I spun out during qualifying, actually on my second or third lap. So I had to quickly go back to the pits and go back out on the track to get a good place. Luckily, I got the fourth spot on the grid for the race, and yeah, it was just a tough race overall, with a few interesting moments, especially at the start of lap 2, where Leroux went wide with his Aston into the hairpin, and I thought, oh, yeah, my race is going to end, and he just misses me on the middle of the hairpin.
Now, we saw you go into some interesting fights. We take a look at lap 38 where you got the pass on Jerry Beckham. But it looked like the Mustang towards the end of your stints starting to pick up that understeer. Were you starting to feel, hang on, I've got a problem here, my tires are starting to go? Or was it all to plan going with the car?
Yeah, so during practice, I set my tire pressures a bit higher than what they should be to compensate for the drop on this track, since this track is a tire eater, as we all know. But yeah, towards the end, my right front was 26.5. So yeah, I did experience a lot of understeer, but in my last stint, I did push way more than I did in the beginning of the race to try and catch for second or third place, which luckily I got the second spot on the podium tonight.
And it looked like a bit of a difficult time through back markers. How was it out? You trying to clear through some of the back markers? Because it got to a point where Daniel de Villiers and yourself were trying to box each other in, utilizing those back markers to move you forward. But sometimes it landed up pushing you both further back towards the field, towards Jason Farmer.
Yes, so unfortunately there were some people, some drivers, they weren't really back markers, it's just they were pit stop behind, but they were fighting for position, and all rights to them. It was a position battle, but yeah, there were some delays with some drivers, but the back markers overall were pretty good. They gave space in the right areas. Yeah, and on the straight, myself and de Villiers, he did try to box me in with the Merc, but I kept my foot in it, and unfortunately at the end of the straight, yeah, we did make contact, so we'll see what comes of that. But yeah, it was a good drive overall. I think there's a few areas I can improve, since it's the first time in about 2.5 years I've touched my sim rig again. So yeah, not too bad.
A very, very well done drive on your part. Lying 8th in the championship, first time on the podium this season. What's your game plan heading into the final round to try and get yourself into that top 5 battle and our final round of season 25 right here at RaceFace.Pro?
Yeah, the plan is just to learn the car, learn Monza. This is the first time I've been in a season with the Mustang, so it's a very fun car to drive. So I'm just very interested to see what it's going to do around Monza. I don't know what the balance of performance is going to be, but it's going to be probably a low wing setup for the speed. And then yeah, we'll see if I can get that top 5 position, the Drivers' Championship. I'm going to give it my all.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. Before I let you go to enjoy the celebrations, managing to score second here tonight, anything you want to say to our sponsor EG Evolve, to everyone in the background here at RaceFace.Pro, to the drivers and teams that you shared the circuit with, and most importantly, the race fans that were cheering on from the sidelines. I saw a couple of Ford Mustang shirts being worn, cheering you on.
Yeah, thanks for everyone in the grandstand. Thanks for everyone supporting and cheering on their favorite driver. Hopefully it was me as well. But yeah, thank you to EG Evolve for sponsoring the season, and hopefully it continues the sponsorship. It's very good to see. And then for all the drivers on track, everyone drove very well, and they just need to keep it up, and everyone needs to practice for Monza, as that T1 is going to be very difficult.
As we know, Monza can taketh or giveth in the championship. Johannes Grayling taking second place here tonight at Zandvoort. Well done. And round 7 underneath his belt, looking to fight out for the top 5. Now, let's have a chat to a driver that's going to be smiling and taking the fight for the gold in the Pro Division. into the final race. 11 points behind Christoph Peterson. Johan Bego Grobler, how are you feeling after tonight's race? Getting a first place and fastest lap, securing 52 points and 11 points now off the back of Christoph, staring at that championship win. How are you feeling after your drive?
How's it, Steven? Yeah, feeling good. That was a good one for a change. So finally putting in a performance that I'm happy with. So yeah, feeling good.
Now we got to talk about this because it seemed like start to finish, you just pulled the pin on the hand grenade and darted away from the field. You weren't hanging around. There wasn't seeming any strategy. It was foot flat until the fuel light came on. What was your strategy in this race from the start right till your first stop?
Well, yeah, I think the main thing was to get into turn one first, because it's a very hard track to overtake. So track position was always going to be very important. So when I think at one point De Villiers and Lorero were second and third in quali, and then the Suns are very quick off the line. So at that point, I was a bit concerned about whoever is going to be in P2 might get a run, but thankfully it's a short run to turn one on Zandvoort. But when Mike got into P2, I knew the Mustang's faster than the Aston on the start, so that kind of made things a bit easier. And then it was just trying to get away from the chasing pack as quickly as possible, because there are quite a few big braking zones, and when guys are fighting, things can happen and you can end up getting a bit of a nudge from behind. So that was sort of my two-part plan, was just get into turn one first and then just try and get away from the following cars as quickly as possible.
Now I've got to ask a serious question. Final round, Monza championship on the line. It is a big push. 11 points separation between yourself and Christoph. You have held the championship once before, and now you're looking at it again. What is the game plan for the Team Wolf Mustang to go and secure the gold and to take the crown away from the German Christoph Peterson?
Well, first off, it's twice before, Stephen. Come on.
Twice before, fair enough.
But no, I think I said at the start of the season that we'll give it everything we've got, and what happens happens. But ultimately, I think we probably would need a bit of luck. So we had a bit of luck tonight with Chris not racing. I knew he wasn't going to race. We chatted during the week, and he's also not a big fan of Monza apparently. So we'll see if we can get lucky again next week. You'll be there, so it's going to be a big fight. But yeah, I'm going to definitely give it all I can, and anything can happen in the last race. And like you say, the gap isn't big, so I'm going to focus on what I can do and do that to the best of my ability, and whatever else happens.
Fair enough. Fighting words, but also sensible in play as well. Bego, before I let you go to enjoy the celebrations, getting a victory here tonight, what would you like to say to our partner EG Evolved, going and sponsoring our season 25 right here at RaceFace.Pro for the ACC GT3 Championship, to everyone in the back, to the drivers and teams out on the grid, and more importantly, our amazing petrol heads tuning in from around the world, going and supporting all the action as we head into the final round next week?
Yeah, just a huge thanks to Andres and the boys over at EG. I had a chat with him last week about something I need, and they were brilliant as usual. So, big ups to them for getting involved with the league and sponsoring, and just all around the way they conduct their business is just amazing, and it's wonderful to have them as part of the community. And then, yeah, I think we had 29 cars tonight on the grid, so we've seen a bit of a drop off, but not as bad as we've seen in some other seasons. So big shout out to everybody that's still pitching up and racing. I think the Pro-Am Championship is pretty much decided, and we're still seeing quite a lot of Pro-Am guys on track, which is nice to see. I'll go and check what the numbers look like in the AM server, but those guys also, we sort of the Pro and Pro-Am championships get the get talked about a lot, but the AM guys and the guys in the AM server, those guys are the heroes for me, because those is where you make up your numbers really for the community, and those are the guys that step up when there's gaps to fill in the pro server. So nice to see that server going strong. And then to all the admins, everybody involved, everybody behind the scenes, you guys doing the stream every week or 3 times a week for RaceFace. Just huge thank you to you guys. I mean, this is really, it's our passion. It's what we love doing, and to have such a committed and just amazing community to help support it is, there's no words really. It's amazing. And then to the fans, I think we said at the start of the season that this is going to be a good one, so stick around, and it's proving to be. So yeah, last race, Monza is always good, and there's still a championship going on, so all the more reason to come in your numbers and back the stands for Monza.
Absolutely wonderful said. Team Wolf Bagger Krobler getting the victory here tonight and carrying the championship down to the final round. Bago, well done on a stellar drive, and we'll look forward to seeing you out in Italy. Well, it's been a fantastic evening full of close racing side by side, and I've got confirmation from Cameron de Bastos as well that we have got a fight not just within our Pro and Pro-Am Championship, but our Gold and Silver as well. Across 4 different classes, we have a fight within the top 3 of each class. It is every single moment to hold on to. It's a strap in, hold tight, and keep focused on the action, because you do not want to miss our final race out in Italy for the RaceFace.Pro ACC GT3 Championship Season 25, proudly sponsored by our title sponsor, EG Evolved, as we duke it out down to the wire to crown our champions, to call the race blow by blow, and to see who will become the first champions of 2026. Folks, it's been wonderful to have you all out there in the virtual grandstands cheering on. It's wonderful to have all our drivers and teams. A big shout out to them. Thank you to all our drivers, teams, and admin and stewards behind the scenes for all the hard work. To Cameron de Bastos, my commentator, going out in the gold and silver and co-commentator during the course of the week. And we'd like to say thank you to you, the race fans, coming back, tuning in, being a part of the show, and keeping the whole channel moving. It's absolutely wonderful to have you guys here, part of the community, part of the family, and supporting the races as they take on the world. But folks, we have reached the end. We have to say farewell. But remember, it's not over. Next week, we come back with our final races of the LMU and ACC Championship. You don't want to miss it, as we get ready to crown our championships accordingly. But for those, I'd like to say thank you very much to Tim and Kim and Tim and Jim. Apologies. Oh, now they're staring at me for getting their names wrong. Thank you for working on the cameras, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week for some incredible racing. From myself, Stephen Koenig, I'd like to say a brilliant one. Have a good time. Stay safe. Stay cool, especially here in SA. And more importantly, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.